Fucking faces. Rod Stewart back before he became what he is now. Ross Warner, Justice is coming. Coming at you a little bit later on a Saturday. Getting ready for the game tomorrow. Happy Hanukkah to those of you of the faith. I'm sitting here, obviously, in my Rivers shirt with my little Rivers figure here. Tomorrow is a huge game for the Chargers, and I think a lot of people are kind of in a wait and see mode with them. Certainly, that's one of the many reasons that the game's blacked out tomorrow. But last week obviously was great, as I put on the comment section of last week's post on Justice. A couple things that I saw when I watched the game again, the NFL replay version, was number one, that drive at the end of the first half was huge. Really, the Chargers are down by 11. So many times we see them just not respond that way. We see other teams respond that way against the Chargers. Comes to mind, I guess, the Denver game where Denver scores a late touchdown in the first half, comes right out, and they really put their foot on our throat there. So that was a huge play, especially as that place was getting louder. And then, of course, the play at the end. So many times we haven't seen that. The last come from behind win that Rivers led was the November 8th game, 2009, against the Giants. Tomorrow's game, obviously, kind of will tell us, I guess, whether last week meant anything. It was very reminiscent, of course, of the 2008 game at Arrowhead, where Chargers, came back. Kasim Osgood recovered that onside kick. Vincent Jackson got the late touchdown and then did that, whatever that is, that celebration where puts everything on his back, which I noticed Dwayne Bowe did against us. And it's reminiscent of that game. And then, the following week, if I'm not mistaken, they went out to Tampa Bay. And, it seemed like it probably wouldn't matter, that the division was never going to come back to them. In fact, I actually remember listening to one of the Broncos games that year. I feel like it might have been against Buffalo. And I remember the announcers saying on Sirius, the Broncos announcers, essentially, that, when the Broncos clinched the division, that it was just obviously a foregone conclusion. So we'll see if tomorrow means that last week meant something. But it was great. It's been great for a week to be, back in consideration. I was not thrilled to hear Warren Sapp picked the Chargers, apparently, to get that 6th seed, because, let me just move myself around here, because, every time he picks against them, they seem to do a lot better. What else? I mean, Cincinnati, they're a sketchy team. At times, I know Geno Atkins is down for the year. Andy Dalton certainly is erratic. Occasionally throws picks. Sound familiar? Last year, obviously, that was a huge loss, one of many that essentially ended the Chargers season. Even with the game being blacked out, I'm sure the place will be loud tomorrow. Sounds like Ryan Matthews is going to play. That's good to hear. He was running really well before he went down with that hamstring pull. And obviously, I love Woodhead, but there's a limit to what Woodhead can do. That draw play is not fooling anybody at this point. And then you have Gary Brown, who, when I remember watching the play, there was one. His first run was good, although there was a ton of room in front of him, which he clearly was not able to capitalize on. And then after that, you could just see how slow he is. But I'm hoping Matthews can play. Matthews certainly is, in many ways, the X factor. When he gets going, it makes Rivers' job that much easier. Rivers has obviously been playing great. As I put out there on the Twitterverse, had Rivers not gotten that touchdown, the fact that he took a sack in that situation is a bit mind-boggling. Unfortunately, there are times with Rivers where he just seems to, no matter what he does, not make the right call. I don't want to dwell on it because it was a great game and he won FedEx Player of the Week, but certainly, you can't be taking a sack in that situation. Didn't end up mattering. Eddie Royal, I think I had read, is been downgraded from questionable to doubtful. They've been able to play without Royal pretty well. Vincent Brown, at this point, you'd think he probably should surrender his 86 jersey back to Tutu, along with his playing time, because, he's constantly falling down. I mean, miscommunication. It's a shame because he was a great looking receiver before he got injured last year. and really looked like he was going to be the guy. But hey, Keenan Allen, of course, has been amazing. And T2 proved that he still has good rapport with Rivers, and obviously made that the touchdown catch. So I think they can overcome if Royal's out. But it's really just it's the pass defense. Obviously, I wish I could figure out why I'm not looking in the right way, but the pass defense has just been utterly horrendous. Uh, Derek Cox, I mean, I don't know if he's hurt. That's certainly something that's possible. But I mean, he's awful. I know I said at the beginning of the season that I'd be happy if we had some new cornerbacks to just bash rather than Kaysen and Jammer, and that I would be acceptable. That would be acceptable to me if we, had just different faces in there. Well, I was wrong because these guys have been absolutely horrible. I mean, they can't stop anybody. We saw it in Tennessee. How they held the Broncos to 28 points is beyond me. Although I think the Broncos, scored when they needed to. They didn't need to necessarily score 40 points to beat the Chargers. But Sharice Wright seemed constantly being in the wrong place on Sunday. That one penalty though on him, I disagreed with. There was one pass interference. I think it was the second of the series of three that I thought was just a little bit rough. But for the most part, you're not going to get calls like that when you're constantly, running and trying to catch up. So I'm sure, Sharice Wright hurls himself into the air and makes a good defensive play. The ref's not going to assume that he was looking back for the ball. That's obviously something that's got to be shored up. AJ Green is great, and certainly the Bengals can throw, and that's going to be a problem. But the Chargers were able to generate some pass rush last week. Obviously, the Chiefs' offensive line, has their own injuries. But Thomas Kaiser's looked pretty good. I can't believe we're talking about these guys from the practice squad. Legion of Rays, they had sacks, big sacks when they needed them. Give them credit for that. Butler starting to look a little bit better. Teo got burned on a couple plays, made that big hit. It's it's really going to come down, I think, to the defense. Last week I said that we clearly don't have a defense that's worthy of playoff discussion, but I've been very happy this week to be back in the mix, to have a meaningful game tomorrow, and it's certainly a game that I think they can win. Again, every one of these games is a must-win, at least in their mind. It seems like they're aware of that they know they have the hardest schedule in terms of the competition. They know that most of these games, with the exception of the Broncos Thursday night game, are going to be in San Diego, and they're looking to shut a lot of their critics up, myself included. Mike McCoy, like I said on Twitter, I still have problems with his in-game decisions. The decision, especially when they had the lead late in the game, to kind of replicate that same conservative approach that they did in Tennessee. I know that eventually you're going to need your defense to step up and make plays. I know that you can't win in the NFL with a secondary like ours, but if you know that your defense is hurting, if you know that they're having difficulty stopping anybody through the air, to to turtle, I guess, it was really, I think, the second down call that they of the run that really bothered me. The first down, I expected them to run, but second down, it even looked like the body language of Philip Rivers that it seemed like they were just kind of saying, okay, we're going to play it safe here and kick the ball away, which, again, if you're the coach of the Chargers, would you consider that? Because we've seen that so many times fail, especially in the aforementioned Titans game. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'll be watching. If you won't be, I apologize on behalf of everybody that is outside the San Diego area. I'm sure you can find a way to see it online. There are ways. And as you can see, I'm actually growing a beard, not for Movember, just I think it's a kind of a fashion choice. Although the last time I did grow a beard was in 1994. So, we have that going for us. But I'm excited. Be good to see if the Chargers can build off this momentum. Obviously, the Colts game was the one that Philip Rivers said, that could be the kind of game that changes the season. And it seemed like it might be. They went into Jacksonville, and then we all know what happened in Washington. So, that Washington game didn't kill their season, not yet at least. They have a chance, but they got to keep winning. And if there's anybody on that schedule that you think they absolutely can't beat, I mean, for better or worse, they did just beat Kansas City in Kansas City, which is a difficult task, in any year, especially this year when they hadn't lost in there for the entire season. So it's a big win. And if you look at the teams on the schedule, Cincy, Giants, Raiders, at Denver. I mean, these are games that the Chargers, could win. We all know their record in close games. It's agonizing to watch, but hopefully we can change it. Uh, I guess I'm psyched. I don't know, but I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for. Guardedly optimistic. I don't know. I'm playing with the phone, I could say. All right, so I'll try to figure out one day how to fix this with the looking. But I will talk to you on Twitter tomorrow. Until then, Ross Warner, justice is coming. Go Bolts.